4, 3, applause.
There is new hope today for women with breast cancer. Celeste Mills was diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer 22 years ago, and 8 years later, that cancer metastasized to her sternum and ribs, and for the next 14 years, kept the cancer at bay using the drug Herceptin. But 10 months ago, her body began resisting that drug and found herself in a fight to save her life. So welcome again. It's nice to have you here. I'm so glad you could join the morning with us, and you were able to eat with us and actually be here with us.
I'm happy to be here.
I know, because it wasn't so long ago that you were really at the very end of your life, fighting for your life.
Yes, I was.
So explain to us where you were at that point.
I'd been so fortunate since my original diagnosis. I was in my 30s when I was originally diagnosed, and 8 years later, it metastasized. I thought my life was over then. There was a new drug available at that time called Herceptin, and at that time, I met Dr. Glaspie, who's my doctor now, and we entered in on this adventure, never realizing it would last 14 years. So for 14 years, I kept appreciating every day. Every day was a gift. It taught me a lot about slowing down and refocusing my energies. Yeah.
Was it a struggle for you? You were having chemo at that time, or you were just taking the drug Herceptin?
I was just taking the drug Herceptin.
Was there any side effects from that?
No, I had none, and I did so well with it. And we really thought that we had it under control, basically forever, so that I would end up dying of something else. So when it stopped working for me, it was hard. We thought we could maybe conservatively add things to it that would kickstart it again. But no, the cancer cells had a mind of their own at that point and decided they were going to revolt. And I'm saying this in the most clinical terms that I know, so thank God Dr. Glaspie's on the show with you.
Well, he had a conversation with you at some point. So the medicine that you're taking stopped working. There was a decline to a point where he has a conversation with you about hospice.
Well, we went to a situation where he told me, if I don't hit you with the strongest chemotherapy I have available, you're not going to see the end of the year. And I said, hit me. And we both knew that there was a drug in clinical trials that
not approved yet by the
it had not been approved. We didn't know when it was going to be approved. We had thought maybe for the last 2 years that it was going to be approved, and delays and FDA, held the drug up and wanted more information, and so it wasn't available yet. And he made a deal with me at that time, and he said, here's the deal. You stay alive. The second that drug is available, I'll get it for you. And we made that deal. So that went on for about 10 months.
And during that time, were you still taking your chemo?
I was taking chemo, but the chemo, my body's been through so much in all these years that I think the chemo was doing as much damage as the cancer. And the cancer had grown to a point where I couldn't breathe anymore if I laid down on my back. It wasn't a struggle breathing, it was, I couldn't get any air at all.
Because your tumor was so large when you would lie
I don't
back,
know if it was that the tumor was large or if it just would move into an area. The tumors in my chest have damaged the main nerve that goes into your diaphragm and paralyzed the right side of my diaphragm. So my right lung doesn't get the air it needs to begin with. It was getting bad.
Well, to find out just how bad, and let's see if we can get this in clinical terms, we're joined now via Skype, Dr. John Glaspie, who's your doctor. He is one of America's leading experts on breast cancer. Welcome, doctor.
Welcome, doctor. Good to have you here.
Can you, for just a second, characterize Celeste's condition just a short time ago before she started with this new drug?
Celeste had progression of her her cancer to the point that it was interfering with her quality of life and interfering with her ability to breathe, especially when she laid down. So she was spending her time in chairs. She couldn't have scans because she couldn't lie flat. That was the status of her life as of a couple of months ago. And you know, in this business, our goal is to have people live as long as they can, but we also need for that life to have depth and quality. Mm-hmm. And she had reached the end of that part of her life unless there was a change in the rule book. And so we prepared for how we would handle if there wasn't a change in the rule book, and then we hoped there would be.
So you guys made this agreement that she was going to live long enough for this drug to be approved. It became so close you almost didn't hold up your end of that agreement that you guys had. But tell us about the drug. The release came just in time. What's the name of this? I'm going to call it a miracle drug because it saved your life.
Yes, it did.
So the only name that you can pronounce is the brand name for this drug, Kadcyla, and it's a modification on Herceptin that restores the ability of that drug to work for patients. Our bargain, by the way, wasn't that she would hang on and I would get the drug as soon as I could. I did tell her I'd get the drug as soon as I could, but the bargain was that if we had more we could do to turn the situation around, we were going to do that. And if we couldn't, then I didn't have anything to do with how long she was going to live, so we were going to focus our efforts on how good she was going to live and how dignified her passing was going to be, because we owe that to people, regardless of whether we can prolong their life or not. And that was the road we were on when I came in that Thursday or Friday, I can't remember what day of the week it was, and found on that I had an email that said the drug had been approved, and that's when the game changed.
Wow.
Did you know that this drug was going to work, doctor?
I had high hopes that it would work for patients like her, especially patients who'd had this atypical, very long response to Herceptin and then had it stop working. And so we had high hopes it would work. We never know until we do something whether it's going to work. We certainly knew it was worth a try, and we certainly knew it was the only thing we had left to try.
All right, doctor, when we return, we're hearing more about the new drug and how it worked to save Celeste's life.
Don't go away.
Back.